All right, we've got an attack in Oklahoma. It's this guy named Alton Nolan, and he went after people that he worked with at Vaughn Foods in processing plant in Moore, Oklahoma. Apparently he did it fairly indiscriminately. The authorities say that he didn't target anyone. He just attacked the first couple of people that he saw, and he viciously attacked them. He beheaded one of the women, and then one of the owners of the store actually shot him. So there's a good use of a weapon there. Now, gun advocates will say, you see that? That actually helped to thwart more violence this guy could have done. There's a good point to be made about that. On the other hand, thank God that Nolan didn't have a gun, because if he had a gun, he might have killed a lot more people. Okay, but either way, that's that part of the story. Now, why did he do it? Well, go to Mediaite here for some explanations. Nolan had a criminal history and had also recently converted to Islam. Oh boy, here we go. Now, according to his CNN, his social media accounts contain images of graphic violence and references to Judgment Day. Now, understand that Muslims don't focus that much on Judgment Day. It's mainly a Christian thing. This guy's apparently a recent convert. Christians are always like, oh, Judgment Day, Jesus is going to come back, right? Whereas in Islam, they are more concerned about something that's, I think, in a lot of ways more dangerous, which is controlling the here and now. They think that Islam should be part of the government and should rule us in all of our activities here on earth, okay? So this guy is obviously unstable, doesn't really understand ideology too much. Unsurprising, right? Now, this is very important. No link has been established between Nolan's actions and any larger group or cause. Now, do we think that that is going to stop the right wing from jumping in and say that he is linked to every terrorist group in the world? The answer is, of course not. So let's begin. First, we start with Fox News' Elizabeth Hasselbeck asking the question here.
Well, police are classifying the brutal beheading of an Oklahoma woman and the stabbing of another as, quote, workplace violence. But what about the suspect in this case and his controversial ties to radical Islam? Should this case be classified as terror, or do we have another Fort Hood on our hands?
Oh, another Fort Hood. Okay, yep, that's going to happen. So anytime a Muslim does an attack, it is coordinated with every other Muslim radical group in the world. Every time a Christian fundamentalist does an attack, like the attack against Jews in Kansas, or the attack against by the neo-Nazi against the Jewish Museum, and the list goes on, right? No, against the abortion clinics. No, all that is Christian fundamentalists, but they're not all connected. They're all just lone guys, one guy who's crazy, and you just can't tell what a crazy guy is going to do. But now here comes Rick Perry, Joe Scarborough, and the rest of them say, no, this is all connected. Let's go, Rick.
You know, I think Americans aren't confused about what this is, that this is a clear case of an individual going in and doing something that doesn't meet their definition of workplace violence. So, you know, I think any rational thinking American is going to look at this and go, yeah, this is more than just normal workplace violence.
Sure. And you look at this guy's Facebook page, he was clearly obsessed with Islamic extremism. And what does he do? He beheads somebody. I mean, before the ISIS videos have come out, when was the last time we heard of anybody beheading anybody? It just seems like if it's not connected, it's the craziest coincidence ever.
The craziest coincidence ever. I mean, really, when's the last time? I don't know if you remember, Tim McLean was, he must have been just beheaded, right? This happened on a bus. He's a 22-year-old Canadian man. 40-year-old Vince Wai Guang Lee attacked him, stabbed him in the throat many times, and then beheaded him in front of the other people on the bus, and then started eating him. He ate his eyes and his heart. Oh my God, look at what ISIS has done in North America. Oh, wait a minute, that was in 2008, before ISIS even existed. When is the last time you ever heard of a beheading? It never happens. Nobody was ever beheaded before ISIS. So it's definitely connected. But how about the authorities saying it's not connected? Now all of a sudden, what do the authorities know? Who gives a shit about them? Let's connect them anyway. More of this nonsense.
At some point in time, I think the administration does have to address this as what it appears to many people that it is, and that is an act of violence that is associated with terrorism.
Because I think it's insulting to people's intelligence. We've been through this now for at least 13 years, if we're paying attention. We know about the danger of radical Islam. When you pretend like it's not linked, I think that Americans get insulted.
Kill me talking about insulting people's intelligence. Well, that's rich. Okay. Now, look, if you're saying, hey, could this guy have been motivated by his version of radical Islam? I hear you, man, and I'm super frustrated by that. And fundamentalists of all ilks drive me nuts. And do Muslim fundamentalists fit in that category? Hell yes. They dominate that category, okay? If you say this is an act of domestic terrorism, hey, look, I think I agree with you. But I also say that when Christian fundamentalists bomb abortion clinics or they do mass shootings, etc., I also think that that's domestic terrorism. But if you say this guy is linked to ISIS, that is counterfactual. It's non-factual. It's not true. You made that up. But they're not the only ones. There's more.
Local news outlets reported that he was shouting Muslim phrases during the attack, so the feds were called in to investigate. Their response, according to the Washington Post, that there was no indication, quote, no indication that Alton Nolan was copying the beheadings of journalists in Syria by the Islamic State.
How is that
Officials
possible?
said, adding that they were treating this as, quote, workplace violence. Workplace violence. Really?
Yeah, it was violence at a workplace. Like, again, you want to call it domestic terrorism, okay, that's as long as you're consistent about it, we can have a conversation, right? But you're creating a link with ISIS that does not exist, that it's just not there. And you say, oh, hence it must be domestic terrorism. I challenge you to find any attack where a Muslim kills someone here in America that they do not connect to global terrorism. And then I challenge you to find any attack by a Christian or right-wing fundamentalist in this country where they do connect them to one another and say, oh my God, we got to be worried about right-wing fundamentalism or Christian fundamentalism, because these guys, come on, you're insulting our intelligence by saying they're not working together. Look at all these coincidences of all these bombings and all these attacks, and you're saying they're not connected. They all have the same ideology. Do you see that consistency? You don't see that anywhere. More of this garbage.
The FBI says there was no indication that Nolan was copying ISIS. Now, I'm not saying that ISIS has infiltrated us and that this is going to happen. But I mean, but seriously, the FBI, no religious motivation. How stupid does the FBI really think we are? And who exactly are they afraid of offending? ISIS? Moderate Muslims? Because moderate Muslims are just as scared as moderate Methodists. And is political correctness now so pervasive throughout our government that the FBI can't tell Americans the truth?
Or could it be that the FBI has no evidence of a link between ISIS and this guy, this lunatic who had a criminal history and who had gone off before he ever converted to Islam? He had a history of violence. Okay? So now, I guess they're saying, FBI, we need you to make up evidence that does not exist in order to not treat us as stupid. Okay. Look, think about it. Why do they have to do that? Why do they have to make connections that don't exist? Isn't the act brutal and horrible enough as it is? I saw it and I was grossed out by it. I was repulsed. I was bothered. And I'm worried about fundamentalism. So you want to link it to something where you go, man, look at what it's driving people to do. I get that part, right? But the reason they want to make the link is, no, we need more war. You see, ISIS is already here. In fact, Rick Perry in that appearance at Fox News said, that's why I sent the National Guard to the border, because I'm worried about ISIS coming in. But ISIS didn't come in. That guy was already in Oklahoma. He didn't cross the border. You made that part up. You made all of it up. Why? Because it's part of an agenda to get more war in the Middle East so everybody gets rich, okay? So that's why they work so hard to make sure that you think this guy is some sort of eternal grown ISIS. And besides which, they're all so scared. And that's what they want you to be. Fear, fear, fear. ISIS is already here. It's already in Oklahoma. It's going to behead you. Watch out. No, this guy's a goddamn lunatic. Literally a goddamned lunatic. As there are many, unfortunately, including the guy at Fort Hood, including the guys who shot up the museums and the cultural centers and every other, and the Sikh temple and every other shooting and bombing that's happened in the U.S.